Happy Monday, everybody. I was planning on going live earlier in the day, but I had several clients coming in, 4 clients, and then work. So I'm doing this a little bit in the mid-afternoon on Monday. But I wanted to tell you that I'm doing a 7-day series this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on storms of all types. And I was thinking what I would like to start with, and I was praying about it. And some things have been kind of ringing in my ears, a theme of something that happened over the weekend when I was at a retreat, or a kind of a retreat training up in the mountains at Blue Ridge Mountains. And we had a large group, maybe a couple 100 or 200 people, and we had the leader going around and had everybody stand up and introduce themselves and share what their names or who they are, and maybe their background and the positions of where they are and the company that I work for. And one of the ladies stood up and she said her name, and then she said she was just a certain position. And when the leader finished, handing it off to the next person from our regional director, he said, before I started to kind of do his night event, his talk that he had planned, he said, I want to go back and kind of clarify a couple things. And he went over to this person that he remembered who she was, and he said, so you stand up, and he said, I want you to tell me your name and tell me your background and what's your position. And he says, we clarify. He says, I want to clarify something. He says, we're never just a certain thing. And made me think about a storm per se that I had when I was just a 9th grade. And I hadn't thought about this for a long time, but I remember when I had moved 13 times in 15 years, and that was a pretty big storm, and moving a lot, and a lot of uncertainties in different schools and making new friends. I remember hiding out in the bathroom because I didn't want to go to the lunchroom. It was scary because I didn't have any friends. And then when I finally started having some friends, stayed a little while in a certain place, I had a couple friends that I thought were my friends. And one day we were getting off the bus, and one of the girls that was the popular girl, and she says, well, you're almost there. And she drew a circle in the dirt, and she just said, this is how it works. And she drew a little circle in the dirt, and she drew a little inner circle in the inside of the circle, and she says, this is me, Jeanne, and Rita. And you're right there, not quite in the circle. You're Justa. And I remember how hurtful that was, because I was just outside the circle of what she deemed popular or whatever I wanted to be at that time. And so I was reflecting a lot this weekend of Justa. I'm Justa. People say I'm just a mom, or I'm just a whatever. And I remember my husband, when he was diagnosed with cancer, and he was going through a lot of inner turmoil of like, who am I? When you start thinking about your life and what is it for, and trials we go through, the storms that reel us. And I remember my husband said, I'm just a shoe salesman. That broke my heart, because I realized some of the most amazing storms are the inside storms that try to convince us of who we're not, that reel within us, that maybe not sometimes the physical, emotional, spiritual, financial storms, but the inner storm of I'm just a. Like today I had a client come in, she's 87, and she says, I'm just 87, I'm just an old lady, or I'm just a. And I thought, we are children of God. We have to stop and ask ourselves, who said that you're just a. And we are amazing. And you're listening and watching me, I want you to know, if you have been saying I'm just a, or I'm falling apart, or it's all about the negative, I want you to stop and ask yourself, who said that? It is definitely not God. When we go through storms, any kind, we have to work on the ones within our own head. And we want to connect to our heart that we are valued, we are loved, we are precious, we have potential, we are a child of God that is loved dearly, unconditionally. That we're not just we're beautiful, and we have purpose in our lives, and we have strengths, and we all have different qualities, and we're all unique. We're not just outside the little inner circle. We are inside of God's heart, and we have purpose. And I want you to reframe the negative. First, question it. Who said that? And reframe it. If you say I'm just a, say I am strong. I told my client to say I am moving forward. I am grateful. I am capable. I am loved. I am strong. I'm getting better every day. And with those that we love can help reinforce that. So I want you to know that I invite you to follow me. I'm just going to do little 7 days, which I normally don't go live 7 days, but 7 days of really sharing some storms. Tomorrow I'll share some deeper storms that have one of my clients, a very amazing storm, something that I think would really help some of you watching. But I'm going to go live and do it every day, probably around this time. You can watch it, get caught up if you get behind. But I hope to give you high value. And just today, remember, we're more than just and to remember and believe in who you are and anchor the truth, and to know that you're valued and loved and have purpose in life, and that I believe in you, God believes in you, and I hope that you have people that believe in you. And if you don't, read the Bible, read good words. The words fill us up. I just had another client left, and used to be a minister. He said, we read the word, then it becomes part of who we are, and that's the strength of the Savior within our vessel. And then we fill out, and then we push out all the bad, because we have the word, we have living waters within us, we have the truth that fills us up. So what comes out is good, and that we can better manage the inner chatter, the storms within us that tell us that we're just and it tells you who we really are. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a great Monday.